So you just dragged home your barn find, and now it's time to see if you've got a runner or not. But here's the thing, your first start is crucial. I've torn apart engines that have sat for 50 years, and they still had oil between the crankshaft, journal, and the bearing. Camshafts are another story entirely though. They dry off after a while, and they'll get a surface film of rust. That'll wipe out your lifters pretty quickly. So what you want to do is you want to get this thing to start, kick, and rev right off the bat. Well, the first step is the obvious one. So it doesn't have oil in it. This one does. And here's the thing, before you go spending money on good oil, oil does not go bad as it sits. If anything, the impurities settle out of it. So don't waste your time or your money changing the oil before you get started. If it's got oil and it looks like oil and it feels like oil, it's good enough. If you pull the stick and it's got mud on it, if it's got water, if it's halfway up the stick, just stop right now. You're going to have to go into the motor. Then of course you got to make sure you've got something that'll rotate. So put some tension on the fan belt, grab the fan, and just work it back and forth. Don't try to spin the motor all the way over because you don't know what's in the cylinder walls yet. But if it'll move, that's a good first step. Now you want to pull the plugs. With the plugs out, WD-40 is your best friend. Give each cylinder a nice healthy squirt of this stuff. Don't be shy with it. You want to get as much in there, you want to cover the top of the piston, and you want it to be able to drip down and soak into the rings, cylinder walls also. Try to be patient with this. I know you want to get this thing lit right away, but if you can let it sit overnight and soak, all the better. Now you want to throw a fully charged battery in the thing and see if you can get it to crank. But keep this in mind, don't go overboard yet. The camshaft is lubricated by oil being slung off the crankshaft. Since you're not going to actually start it yet and you're not going to get that oil slinging around, it's going to be spinning dry. So all you want to do is just give it a couple of taps, make sure it's going to spin. Good enough. If you get ticking, when these things sit for any amount of time, the contacts from the starters get dirty. You may have to give it a couple of taps with a hammer to get it to go. So if your car has a points distributor like our Savoy, chances are it's not going to start the first time. And the reason being is that when they sit for any amount of time, points tend to fuzz over. So what you want to do is give them a good cleaning with a poise file like this or emery cloth if you don't have it. Get the file in there and give them a good scuffing. When you're done, reset the gap. Now this is where things get critical for a good first start. You don't want to rely on any of the car's systems. You want to only focus on the engine. You want to use a jumper wire to go between the positive of the battery and the positive of the coil. Also, you want to disconnect the inlet side of the fuel pump. You don't want to be sucking in anything that might be in the tank. If the car's only been sitting for a couple of years, you may be tempted to try to run it on what's in there. But that brown varnish will gather up on the valve stems and stick a valve, or even worse, it'll clog around the top ring and kill it. Been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And now it's time for the moment of truth. Got your jumper wire on. The first thing I like to do is disconnect the choke because you want to have that open. There we go. You're going to feed it from a squirt bottle. One like this works. You can use a ketchup bottle and put a little hole on the top of it, fill it with gas. What I like to do before I light one of these things off is give it a nice gulp of ATF down the carburetor. And that's going to act as a top cylinder lubricant. It's going to act as a valve stem lubricant. Then we're ready to rock and roll. Good healthy squirt of gas, and you got to be ready to feed it with the squirt bottle. Whoops. Well, that's not in the script. You know, I have no idea why that happened. But through the magic of stagecraft, we have another jumper wire. So we'll just stick this thing here in the positive. Okay. Give the motor a good healthy squirt of gas. Keep your face away from there. And give it a crank. and there you go. It's a runner. At this point, you could drain the gas tank, you could do whatever you have to do, and you got a car that's good to go.